I'm Carissa Anthony. I'm the Prevention and Development Coordinator, and so I work for Homewood Schools. I also coordinate the Safe and Healthy Homewood Collaborative, which is a healthy youth development collaborative. And we just recently, I say recently, maybe a year and a half ago, started the Homewood Connected project, which is all about like online safety and, having a slower rollout of online privileges for kids and stuff, and being aware of some of the risks that can pose, and just for parents to feel empowered, that they can do what's right for their family. So I'm going to turn this over to he's not detective anymore, he's Sergeant Ricketts with the Homewood Police Department. He is a founding member of the Homewood Connected project, so he's very familiar with this. He does a lot of trainings with our students and stuff, and so he's going to introduce the rest of the panel.
All right, Krista, which way do you start? I'll talk right here. I'm okay, right?
Sure.
Okay. So, good evening. I want to say thanks for coming out. Like, that's really the most important thing right now is like, thank you for being here. Thanks to Carissa for letting us come and talk. So just to dispel anything, there's no easy button for this. I know like everybody kind of wants to be like, okay, so like, what's the one thing I can do? Like, what's the one app that I have? What's the one, whatever it is. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. But it's important, like you guys are already taking the right step. You're online, you're listening to us, you came here in person, like you're already, so like I like to think about like you have to build your security in layers, right? So like there's not one app you can have for your kids. There's not just one simple button you can push. You want to think about it like in layers. So you're building security, right? So like, and they're both going to talk about this in depth later, but just to touch on some things. And like I said, I'll mention things kind of, the important thing is I'll foot stomp a couple of times and you'll end up hearing more than once. So, and I'll get to my introduction in a second for basically like, why do I need to listen to this guy? But I did want to get a few things kind of out of the way. Like, so it's not going to be easy. Probably the most important person you're listening to tonight is Haley when she talks about having to talk with your kids. And when Eric goes over some of the other like apps and that sort of thing. So please pay close attention to both of them. They're super knowledgeable. Haley was pretty much handpicked for this job from the FBI. And Eric is currently the best detective we have because I'm not there anymore. So, but he's still pretty good. So still pretty good. But yeah, like I said, so in addition to that layers thing, like look around the people online now, the people here, like Carissa, ourselves, like that's going to be part of your team, right? Like I said, this isn't going to be an easy thing. It's not something you can do by yourself. I have a 3 and a 5-year-old. Like I know how tough it can be. A lot of times I end up doing single parenting type stuff. So I do want you to know, like, I'm going to get into some stuff that's kind of scary. I've been told before, like, hey, you scared the heck out of us with some of that. So, but know that you can do it. So I know they can't see me or whatever, but you're here, you have a team, you have resources. Like I said, listen to both these people, super knowledgeable. I trust both of them with my children. So I can't give a better compliment than that as a parent. So with that being said, why should you even listen to me? So Sergeant Ricketts, I've been with the Homewood Police Department for about 13 years now. Before that was military, captain of the Air Force, but 2019, I started with the FBI task force. I got the chance to do a lot of cool stuff with them, including, so I've been on the Crimes Against Children and Human Trafficking Task Force for the past 5 years. In that time, I've gotten to do what they call like an online covert employee. So basically that means I've gone in and like either pretend to be a 14 or 15, I pretend to be a child and seen firsthand kind of what these predators do. And I've actually played like the adult too, they call it a bad dad type of thing where you have access to kids. So I've seen it from both angles, prosecuted numerous human trafficking cases, numerous what we call like ICAC, Internet Crimes Against Children, and Violent Crimes Against Children cases. So have a ton of experience. Like Carissa said, I'm night shift patrol now, so I'm working tonight. But with that being said, I will be around afterwards too. If someone, like if you got a question or you just want to talk, I'll make myself available. Like I said, I want y'all to know like some of this stuff's gonna be very scary, but like I said, you have some of the best people with Carissa and these two here, and just start thinking about building that team out. So with that being said, I guess I do this.
There's a remote.
All right. We at the FBI have no greater mission than to protect our nation's children from harm. So I also have a tendency to be kind of blunt and upfront. So the FBI gets a bad rep nationally with a lot of politics and that sort of thing. I've had nothing but good experience with the FBI, particularly, I mean, Agent Hurricane Haley Collison and her team have been nothing but great. These people will stay out 24/7 to help find your kid or do anything for them. So like I said, it gets a bad rap to some extent, but when it comes to children, like I said, make them part of your team as well. So, and she'll go over a bunch of the resources and that sort of thing. So what is sextortion? So we're going to cover kind of three like big crimes today. We got sextortion, we got human trafficking, and we got kind of like your generic, what I call like crimes against children, particularly when like they're trying to get your child to travel to them. So, but I mean, you guys can see, I'm not going to read the definitions to you, but I do want to kind of like, we'll kind of blend it all in today. So it's just an important distinction to make. So the types, all right. So kind of traditional versus financial, and we'll kind of get into who each of them targets. So your traditional is kind of like your female, right? You're 10 to 17, like it says, like, and it's important too, like I'm going to foot stomp this a bunch as well, like throughout the whole thing, like your child is a victim in this 100% period. Like I know, again, I got a 3 and a 5-year-old. I'm like, they drive me crazy sometimes. But Haley will get into more of it when having the talk with them or whatever, but that's part of the open communication thing that she'll talk about. So, but that's basically what happens is they end up giving one picture and then they threaten to release that unless they get more pictures. Probably the one that we see more from the sextortion side of it, I'm looking at Eric and Haley, would be probably like your 13 to 17-year-old boys. I was one time. We don't always make the best decisions. You get on Instagram, you get on Facebook, you get a cute girl that likes you. The next thing you know, you send them a picture, and then they're, again, replying back to you, and they want you to send money or credit card, gift cards or that sort of thing back to get money. So those are the two. Those are two big ones we see. I will say with sextortion too, it doesn't really, because we'll get into some more victimology, I guess you could call it. Sextortion really doesn't matter kind of what socioeconomic background you're from. I've seen everything from like your straight A students to some of your more marginalized people. But it is important to pay attention to that. And I did mean to say earlier too, like you guys are all doing the right thing, right? And like you're here, you're learning. It could be your child that sees somebody else's child going through something, and that's also important to kind of get rid of that. There's on the street, they call it like a no snitch culture, right? Like I don't want to tell my friends or that sort of thing. So it's important too, when you're having that open conversation, to let them know, like, hey, if your friend like is going through something, and like we'll get into some case studies, some really sad case studies where their friends knew about it, but they didn't feel like they should tell their parents and like didn't want to betray that confidence. So that again goes to like having those conversations early and often with your children about the dangers of it and that open and honest communication. All right, so let's switch. So like I said, we talked about trafficking, right? And then because Chris also wanted me to kind of pull in a little bit of the drug angle as well. So I worked narcotics for several years before I went to crimes against children. So this one happened in Homewood. That picture is from the Motel 6 over off Oxmoor. So like I said, some of this stuff's gonna be scary because it's gonna hit right home. But like I need you guys to realize like you're not in a bubble. Like as much as we want to think we're in a bubble, I went to Stanford University too, so I know about the bubble and all that. So this one happened right here. Short story is, we got a tip from NCMEC, and they'll talk about NCMEC a little later on, but it's the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. They do a fantastic job, but we learned that there was 2 juveniles missing. I started replying. So we found ads for them, basically prostitution ads. I found the ads, replied back to them. Long story short, we kind of chased them around and then found them at a hotel over off Oxmoor. So, but what happened was these two girls had left California, and this is where I'm going to talk about too. The trafficking tends to be the more, I'll say, like marginalized. Like I said, I'm going to be blunt for some things. Like if your children aren't being told they're loved at home, like they're going to find it somewhere else, and your children's friends. So they're at a Walmart in California, ran into two dudes, basically promised them the world, right? Like, come with us, I'll make you whatever. I can't remember which one this was. I think this promised them like a fun trip or whatever. So they end up in Memphis. They get abandoned there at a hotel in Memphis, and then that's when they meet Marlette Smith. This one's kind of unique too, because like females can be traffickers. So, but Marlette basically promised them a ride home. She used marijuana and some other drugs to kind of get them hooked, and basically forced them into prostitution until we got them through the ad. So that was one, and you can see the sentence there. She got 25 years. The SRT is basically a supervised release type of deal. And on all these case studies too, if you want to talk about them afterwards, we can go into like a lot more detail. But that was one, interestingly enough, that we had to kind of have an uphill battle fighting in court as well, because people just aren't aware really of human trafficking and that sort of thing. So, but that was the important things I think I want to say on there. And then two, like always just trusting your instincts as a parent. Because I got to talk to both of the parents after that. So anyway, I will turn it over. Special Agent Haley Collison.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I know you can't see me online, but I am Special Agent Haley Collison here with the FBI. We do have an office here in Birmingham. A lot of people don't know, but we do have offices in every state. It's not just us up in DC. But like Trent said, I've worked with Sergeant Ricketts and Detective Brugge on multiple different occasions regarding child exploitation and human trafficking. This is something we see on a daily basis. It's not just something we pick up one day and like, today we're going to look at this, or we're going to solve this crime today. Like, this is all of our daily jobs that we look at and see every single day. So we know what's out there. We know what's happening. We know what the kids are going through. And that's why we're here today, like Sergeant Ricketts said, to inform all of you on how to keep them safe. So some of the goals of sextortion is that it's honestly everywhere. It used to mostly just target young females or young children, young girls. And more and more, we've seen that more young males are being targeted for whether it's pictures or money or whatever it is. And as you can see on the chart, 79% of the people who are doing the sextorting are seeking money and just kind of want to make the child's life miserable, like the financial gain sextortion we saw on the other slides. Some are actually looking for sexually explicit photos, and then 12% are actually looking to travel or have the child travel to them for physical contact with a child. How does this happen? And in this chart, it's going to look like it's just like a quick thing that happens. But Sergeant Rick is going to talk a little later on more kind of case studies where this could be a prolonged, like month or year-long conversation that these kids are having with the predator before anything really happens. It's not just like, hey, how are you? I'm so-and-so from Mountain Brook. Great, send me a picture. It's not always that quick. It can be. Some people just like to test their luck, but sometimes it could be month-long, year-long conversations that these kids are thinking that they have a friend in somebody, and it's not a real person, or it's not who they say it is. So essentially, contact is initiated. This could be on any sort of platform, dating sites, Snapchat, Instagram, Roblox, Discord, any gaming site, anything that has chat capabilities, Wi-Fi. Honestly, anything on the internet nowadays is open area for predators to seek out your children. After that, the extortion happens. So they initiate the contact, they build the relationship, images are inquired, and then the extortion happens, then the sextortion happens, and then your your child has been victimized through this whole thing. I know it says it at the end, but that just means that it's a more of a long-term emotional trauma that occurs for the rest of their life. Like their friends find out, family members find out, like that's embarrassing. It can be very embarrassing, especially if people start seeing photos, and nobody wants that. And you definitely don't want your child to go through that. So the hunting grounds, as we call them. So these are just some of the apps that we have seen that predators can be on. And you may not recognize these, which would be great. But some of these you might recognize because kids use them all the time. There are a lot more than what you see on the screen right now. And like I said, it can be any platform that they're on. So with Snapchat specifically, one thing to look at is Snapchat offers a My Eyes Only section now with their update, which means that photos, videos, anything can be hidden in this area. It can be password protected, and so that child would be the only one who has that password unless you have specific rules with them that they can't hide, whatever. So just be aware of that on Snapchat now. Instagram has a vanish mode in their chat option. So you can send like Instagram reels or posts to your friends on Instagram. And now they have a vanish mode. So chats, pictures, videos, whatever will delete after a certain amount of days, hours, whatever they set it to. It can be set for 1 hour as soon as it's viewed, 3 hours, and then all the chats are gone. This makes it hard for parents to catch on to things, law enforcement, if something does end up happening. So just be aware of that on Instagram. And then other iPhone apps that are here is Apple decided to create a hidden photo album, which is Face ID protected or password protected. And so you can see it's circled here. You might have to scroll down on the media. They can be rearranged on your iPhone. But that is a hidden area. And then you see this calculator looking app. Somebody made an app where it looks like a calculator, but it's actually used to store or hide videos and pictures. So nobody would really look at that because it just looks like a calculator. But it can be an actual app that photos or videos are being hidden.
While we're waiting on Trent to come up, I just recently found out about this beer drinking game. That's an app, and it's hidden. I mean, it's stuff that you take pictures of you drinking, friends view it, and then it goes away.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a new one to me. I feel like there's always something like that coming up.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to keep up with. It is.
Yeah, and honestly, like they're usually, I say they, like the kids are usually ahead of us on technology type stuff, for sure. So I'm getting older too, but like, and they'll talk about it too. Like I recommend like, and my kids don't have phones yet, but like when they do, we'll still get into that. But like go through the phone and like don't just like take 5 minutes to go through it. Like go through like every app, open everything, because they're getting smarter and smarter about how to hide stuff. So, and with that, so this is a really sad case. So I got to at the Crimes Against Children conference in 2023. Ryan's mom came and spoke. So this was sorry, this wasn't Ryan. This was a different one, but basically 4 men from the Ivory Coast in West Africa, like is an international sextortion scheme, and ended up killing himself over it. And unfortunately, like Ryan's not the only case. Like I said, I got to talk to the mom of another one, and like this is where I really want to stress too, like your parent instincts come into like play a lot. Like, because after talking to the mom, like she had some like indications like something was wrong. So like I can't stress enough over and over again, like have those conversations with your children, even the tough ones. The one I'm talking about, like he was literally, their house is 2 stories. They were all upstairs sleeping, and he was on the other end of the house when he killed himself. Like sister was there, family was there. He was a straight A student, black belt in karate. That's why I said, like, these guys are professional at what they do. Your kids are a victim. and I hate to do it because they drive it home even more. We had I'll say an over the mountain case. I won't say what city it was. Victim met suspect over Snapchat. Suspect drove from Texas to here over the mountain. Actually had the audacity to come up, knock on the front door, met the mom, and told the mom he was the kid's friend and he was taking everybody to the movies. In reality, he took the kid to a hotel and raped him. And the mom knew something was wrong. You mean like we have that parent? I mean, like I told you, I've got kids, right? Like the hairs that stand up on the back of your neck, like those are there for a reason. Like trust that. And like, so the other thing I hear over and over again is I don't want to violate my kids' privacy. Like I can't curse because Chris will get mad at me, but like forget that. They're your kids. At the end of the day, like you're responsible for your kids, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to be the parent. It's not their phone, it's your phone. They don't have privacy, you're their parent. So I can't foot stomp that hard enough. My point, I mean, you can Google this, unfortunately, and you'll see stories everywhere. It's getting more and more popular. So again, I'm gonna drive this home. These are 2 Homewood cases, kind of like Haley referenced earlier, like some of them. So let's take Roger here on the left. I started talking to Roger. Within that week, he decided to drive from Huntsville to Homewood and met me. He brought blindfolds, nylon rope, bondage toys.
When you say he was coming to meet you, you were pretending to be a teenager.
I was, yes. Sorry. Clarification. So like I said earlier, I do a lot of like online undercover stuff where I would pretend to be. So in this case, I was pretending to be a 14-year-old female. It was pretty clear from when I started talking to Roger, like he knew what he was doing, and this wasn't his first time. He was already out on bond for previous cases on that. So those tend to be the more experienced. Like I said, and we'll talk about like Gorilla and Romeo Pimps here in a second, but he would be the more like aggressive end, right? Like even during the chats or whatever, like he was super aggressive with me and very like demanding on things. And to the point like he already threatened I can't see my air quotes, my parents, if I told and that sort of thing. So Eric and I had a fun time taking him down, honestly. So, and then on the other side, we have Mr. Lawrence here. Mr. Lawrence and I chatted for about a month. Like Haley said, I think the longest I've done is 4 or 5 months. I think you've had probably about the same.
4 or 5 months chats.
So those get to be a drain on you. But like he was more what we call like kind of Romeo style, right? Like he wanted to be a boyfriend, have the dating relationship, all that sort of thing. Again, I was pretending to be a 14-year-old female. He was a grown man. But again, he decided to drive. He also drove from Huntsville to Homewood to have sex with what he thought would be a 14-year-old. And again, he ran into me and Detective Brugge. So that is kind of the funnier side of things. But when I talk about Gorilla versus Romeo Pimps, that's usually kind of a term we use in the human trafficking world. Kind of self-explanatory. The Gorilla seems to be more violent, where the Romeo is being more romantic, kind of persuading them. And that kind of goes to like when I talk about victimology, a lot of times now the trend that we're seeing is that they're finding their victims on Snapchat, Instagram, that sort of thing. It's the marginalized kids that aren't getting attention, right? Like we had another case, I didn't put it up there, but like he basically convinced this girl that he was a record producer. He was going to sign her to a record label, picked her up from Wisconsin, from her grandmother's house, and drove her all over the country till eventually we got her here at Homewood. Again, responding to the ads. We actually caught him, I mean, kind of a legit hostage rescue on that one. Like we kicked the door down. He was in the room with her with a gun. So I say all that to say is trust your instincts. Make sure you're having those conversations with the kids. I know I'm foot stomping things over and over again. And then make sure your kids are being good friends to their friends. And trust your instincts. Can't stress that enough. And like I said, sometimes we make it fun. That one, I don't know which case that's from, but with Mr. Lawrence, he actually, towards the end of the chats, actually was stated he was worried I was Chris Hansen. So I thought that was kind of funny. Those of us old enough to know who Chris Hansen is. So He already, which tells you he knew he was doing wrong or whatever. So, what else? And then you can just kind of see the sentences kind of vary, just depending on a lot of different factors. Unfortunately, they're not all life in prison as I would want them to be. But. Yeah, so we've had, I'll tell you, we've had cops we've arrested. We've arrested the governor's attorney in Vestavia. We've had
doctors,
clergy member. Yeah, it doesn't, it's the one crime that really doesn't
discriminate.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we've had cases where the suspects turned out to be very affluent people. So it's not necessarily your stereotypical pedophile that you would see depicted on TV or in a movie or something like that. It can literally be anybody, totally normal people that turn out to be very sick. I'm Detective Eric Brugge with the Homewood Police Department. I've worked there for about 9 years. I'm assigned to the Special Investigations Unit. When I got over there, Trent mentored me, and I began working a lot of internet crimes against children cases and started to do a lot of proactive investigations. And by proactive investigations, we mean that we would go in an undercover fashion into chat rooms, different social media apps, and depict ourselves as children, basically. And you don't have to wait very long, but just wait for someone to reach out and message you, and they'll come to you. They'll come to you just based off of your screen name. If they think that your birthday's low, they'll go ahead and holler at you. But so in actually this year in May, a new act was passed into law by the president, and this is the Take It Down Act, which addresses the growing issues with non-consensual intimate imagery, which includes both real and AI generated content that is shared without the subject or the victim's consent or knowledge. The legislation was inspired by events that were victims struggled to have harmful images removed from social media platforms, leading to ongoing trauma and harassment. One of the key provisions of this is the actual removal of the imagery. So they made it to where, based off this law, and I mean, it's going to take, I mean, we know how the federal government, the state government, and then, city governments work. Nothing's fast. So they're making it to where the victim can have or requester can have the images taken down within 48 hours. And they're working on getting, looks like they're working on getting portals made where you can make these requests. I know you can call into NCMEC tip line, and they can assist people with wanting to make requests on removing the images and everything. The act aims to provide legal protections for the victims of digital exploitation, allowing them to seek justice against those who publish the images, and accountability for the platforms in which the images are posted across social media or messaging apps and things of that nature. And the law is a part of a great broader effort to enhance the safety and privacy of individuals in the digital space, ensuring that victims have the tools and support necessary to combat online abuse. You can do that. Thanks. Okay, so Sergeant Ricketts talked about being able to recognize the signs that you see in your children. No one knows your children like y'all do. So y'all know when something's off, whether they've had a good or bad day at school, whether or not something deeper is going on, and you start seeing signs that can become alarming. And as parents, I mean, I can't do it for you or anything, but it's our job to make sure that we're paying attention to our kids. And I mean, I do it the same way, where if I have a long week at work, I mean, I might not have interacted with my son, who is 12 years old, as much as I should have, and things can just kind of snowball from there. And you just need to make sure that you take time and be cognizant and pay attention to your children. So recognizing signs like withdrawal from family and friends, dropping grades, or disinterest in activities that usually would interest them, abnormal behaviors like elevated anxiety, fear, even physical tics like, skin picking and scab picking and rubbing eyes like abnormally, self-harm, and then ultimately, and the worst of all, would be an actual suicide attempt or such a self-harm that you would probably need to seek, medical attention on that. All right. So with these sextortion cases, how it usually goes, and Agent Collison went through the kind of like progression of making contact and the sextortion and victimization and everything. And basically how it goes down is that, from what I've seen and the reports that I've taken personally from Homewood residents and people in the community, is that somehow or another they're reached out to or get messaged from these, basically they're fake accounts. So with boys, it's always like some very attractive, European female that all of a sudden is showing interest in a 13-year-old boy from Homewood. Like, that's super sketch and that's not going to happen. Sorry, but as being a 13-year-old boy or whatever, they're going to respond, and it just snowballs from there. They start asking for pictures and exchanging pictures, and then comes time to where, okay, well, I have their picture now. Like, they usually ask for Apple gift cards, some sort of like digital fluid currency, not necessarily cash transactions. It would be, can you send me an Apple gift card for $500 and I promise I won't show any of your friends. They'll go to the extent of they'll get on the victim's Facebook and screenshot their friends list and show it to them, basically to say, hey, I know who all your friends are and I have blackmail on you and this is what I want from you. In a lot of cases, those transactions are made and money is sent to them via these gift cards or Bitcoin or whatever they're looking for. And it doesn't just stop at a payment. They're going to continue to want more and more until they, or actually they're never going to be satisfied, basically until you break contact with them. And most of these cases that we've seen as of late, and speaking from some investigators at a class that I went to recently, a lot of them are being able to be traced back to somewhere in Africa. So this is the new age of our grandmothers were getting scammed by the Nigerian prince and sending them $20,000. This is the new age of that. So all they're doing is just evolving into, hot button issues and what's going to attract the most attention in order to get paid. So one of the things is when you do that, if something like this happens, hopefully your child can just come to you and be like, hey, I made a mistake. And then from you, you're going to be like, okay, well, what do we need to do about it? First of all, just don't pay it. Don't cease all the communications with the accounts. The best way to do it for me on my end is to put the cell phone or the device in some sort of airplane mode and put it on the charger. And if it happens at night, the next day you can come in, bring the device with us, and we can talk about it and discuss what's going on from there. Like it says here, treat your device like a crime scene, because devices are crime scenes now. Don't delete anything. Don't sign out of accounts or anything like that. If possible, use another form of camera, like your phone or something else, to take pictures of the screens and the screenshots, because some of the apps, like I know Snapchat does, and I'm sure other ones do, if you screenshot the messages yourself, it'll notify the other person that you had taken a screenshot. So I'm always super careful about all that stuff, and I just use another phone to take pictures of everything. So I have it documented and it doesn't alert the other people. So look, yeah, put on airplane mode, charge it, and please come in and talk to us. I take a lot of the sextortion cases that we've had so far, and it's just one of those things that no one wants to deal with. No one wants to talk about it. The kids are super embarrassed. The parents are like secondhand embarrassed, and they're like, oh my God, I just want to make this go away. But honestly, like, I'm just like, so just third party about it. I just want to make sure that all the information that I can get to help the case, I can get it from y'all and be cooperative about, which everyone that I've ever dealt with has been super cooperative. And we'll just come in and we'll have a conversation about it, and we can figure out what I'm able to do going forward, and also what the parents would want me to do. Because at the end of the day, the case involves your child. So I'll go to all the links necessary in order to make this right and make y'all feel good about it. But there's a lot of cases where parents might not necessarily want to attract, I don't know, sort of negative attention. But I mean, that's crazy. We'll figure it out. It's all good.
I'd say on that one too, Eric. Make
Yeah.
sure, like, it's hard not to, like, you want to kind of like yell back at the criminal sometimes. Like, just like Eric said, don't talk to them. And it also leaves us open to, if you find them talking to like an older adult, it lets us have a possibility like an account takeover, which we've both done before. I actually got a doctor in Blount County that way. So it's hard not to do, but the sooner you contact us, the better. And just don't interact with the criminal.
Yeah, leaving the device as is as much as possible is the key. And like he said, if we'll go over paperwork and consent forms and everything, and I'll go through people's devices along with the parents if they're comfortable with that. And if there's a situation where we can actually get someone into custody that way, doing an account takeover is really great. It just involves me having the phone for a couple of weeks or so. But all right, so NCMEC, like Sergeant Ricketts had talked about, is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and they're based out of Virginia, I believe. They're basically, they get compiled. It's a compiled database that social media and online vendors are really required by law, but they don't do it often enough, to submit pictures and images that they believe is child sexual abuse material, and they submit it to NCMEC. NCMEC is able to assign a specific number for that image and log it into their database, and can help run that image against all the millions and millions of images they have to see if they have matches for victims, to see if it's an actual real life victim versus an AI generated picture. And then when they get enough information based on the tip, they send out what are called cyber tips out to state law enforcement agencies. Like myself and Sergeant Ricketts are both part of the ALEA ICAC task force. They get those cyber tips, and then they disperse them out to the appropriate jurisdictions, which allow us to conduct the follow-up investigations. So in 2024, it says right here, NCMEC received 20.6 million reports of suspected CSAM. And that's just child exploitation. And then child pornography, 19.9, child enticement, 5, like that's crazy. Like, so it's nonstop. Like, they get tips all day, every day rolling in, and they're just trying their best to make sure if they can match victims and get these tips out to the appropriate jurisdictions. In 2024, they received, Alabama got 13,000. Crazy. Average target age is around 15, which is very true. 1 out of 4 victims are younger than 13, victims as young as 6. And then 2/3 of the victims are females under 16. So usually, like in my target demographic, when I'm UC chatting, undercover chatting, is I usually display myself as like a 14 to 15-year-old female. And I mean, I haven't not had success, you know.
Okay, now we're going to talk about some online safety practices for you as parents. One, educate yourself on the applications. Educate yourselves on the phones. We just talked about the hidden folder in photos on Apple. We talked about the hidden photos on Snapchat. We talked about the vanish mode on Instagram. These are things that you want to be aware of, so you know what to look for with your child and their phones. And like Sergeant Ricketts said, like, yeah, you don't want to disrupt their privacy, but it's your phone, it's your house, and it's your child. So at the end of the day, it's their safety that you are responsible for, and they rely on you to keep them safe. So you'll want to regularly like supervise your kids' internet related activities. I understand that we are all busy. We all have things going on. We have jobs, we have children, the house needs to be taken care of. We get it. Your kids are the most important thing in your life. They should be. And so you need to carve out time to supervise what they have going on, or at least look at their phone, talk to them. That one of the big things we've gotten away from the past decade is just communication with everybody, and especially our children. And if they can't trust you to come to you when they have situations going on, who can they trust? No one. You are their go-to person, and they need to know that you are their go-to person. And so these are just general. Some of these are just general as online safety tips as well. So don't open attachments from unknown senders. That's how people get scammed all the time. That's how your grandma is being scammed by the Nigerian prince. There's a link, they have your information now, and it downward spiral from there. You can download applications to monitor your child's online phone activity, and I'll go over a couple of those here in the next couple of slides. And protect your personal identifiable information, and think before you post your children on social media. I know we all have social media. We want to talk to Susie in California and let her know that her nieces and nephews are doing great in school and all of that. And that's great. We don't want to tell you to not be online. And that's not what I'm telling you. But AI, or artificial intelligence, is very big nowadays. And all it takes is for them to have a picture of your child on vacation in a bikini or in their shorts, if you have a son, and they can attach it to anything. They can put their face, they can put their body onto anything now with artificial intelligence and make it seem like it's something it's not, to try to sextort your child or you or your family members or whatever. So you want to keep your social media a little, private. Make sure your friends aren't identifiable, or your family members. There's a lot of things you can do to kind of lock down your Facebooks and social media, Instagram, all of that, to make sure it's just people that you know who have your information. So here are some of the applications, and this is just a few. So definitely do your own research as well. All it takes is a quick Google search. But Bark monitors, best for social media. Kaspersky's Safe Kids, it's less restrictive. I'm not going to read all this to you, but these are just some apps that can automatically do like the screen management. So it shuts the phone down, it blocks certain apps. It's kind of like a parental control options that you have here with these applications. These are different phones. If you have younger children, you want them to be able to contact you, but you don't want them to have social media. Any of these phones or watches are a great option as well, because they don't have internet capabilities or social media, and it's just used for talking and texting, and you are able to contact them when you need to. This talk is just to make sure your kids know that you are a safe space for them, and that you are going to support them no matter what they mess up in this life. And let me tell you, we've all been kids. We all do it. We've all done things we shouldn't have done, but your parents were there to help you through it. And that's what they're really there for. You're not there to judge them. You're not there to yell at them. Well, you are. Yeah. You're not there to yell at them if they get into trouble online and they come to you because they need help. But you need to be there to support them through these times. Like we talked about before, like it's embarrassing. You may not want your other family members to know about it, or their friends. But let me tell you, when something's on the internet, it's on the internet forever, regardless of what like you want to do, or if you want it to just go away and sweep it under the rug. Like it's happening and it's there. If we're being totally honest, I'm going to be blunt, just like Sergeant Ricketts was. Like some parents aren't great parents. I'm not saying that's any of you in the room or online, but some parents are not good parents. So having the talk, even with your friends' children, your children's friends, or having your children just, be a good friend is going to save somebody down the line who may not have good parents. And that's just the way that life is right now. So here's a couple online resources. We've talked about NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. This is the website, and I know that this presentation will be available online for you later. So there is the phone number for them and the website for them. They take all types of complaints. They have data out there. They have resources for your kids and for parents and games, and NCMEC does it all. The IC3 Internet Crimes Complaint Center. This is if you're being scammed for anything, not just extortion. You can submit it to there, and they send out reports on the back end to the FBI and to whoever needs to know about that situation. NetSmarts and Safe Online Surfing. I'm going to talk about those here in a second. And then we already talked about the Take It Down Act. So the NCMEC online report. So just really quick, you can see on the screen that once you go to NCMEC, they have a Get Help section right there. It's right in the front. You just hit Cyber Tip Line, and the report is pretty self-explanatory. NCMEC makes it very easy to submit a tip to them and get the help that you need. NetSmarts. So this is an online tool for younger children, so it may not be useful for your high school kids now, but if you have younger kids, there's videos, interactive games, things like that to create a safe environment that are taken from actual cyber tips that NCMEC gets, but they make them for children to help them through online safety. The FBI actually created an online tool for children in 3rd through 8th grade. This can actually be used in the classrooms with teachers. And then it can be like a big interactive game between like the whole school to see which class does better. It's kind of a fun tool, but this also is just like different modules and games to take kids through cyber safety practices. And so this whole conversation, if you take anything away from it, is just having the awareness, having the conversations with your kids, and then you are empowering over the predators that are out there, and your children are counting on you, the adults, to keep them safe. And this is our names and who we're with, but does anybody have any questions online or in person? We do have some questions that came through that Carissa put out, so we will answer some of those as well. But in the chat right now, the question was if we give presentations to the high schoolers and middle schoolers, and the answer is yes, we do about once a year. We have not gotten to the middle school yet, but we're hoping to start that this year. But we do give a presentation to the students. We do what we can on our side for law enforcement, federally, state, city, locally, everything like that. But like I said, it starts at home. So we can give them every year at the high school, we give a presentation, and every year something happens. People think adults or children don't think adults don't know what they're talking about. I've been there. Definitely thought that when I was younger. So having that continuing conversation with them at home, just so they're safe, they're going to get annoyed with you. And like, Mom, Dad, I already heard this. Like, I don't want you in my business, blah, 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 like my phone, friends, all the whole thing. We hear it all, right? It doesn't matter, because their safety is the most important. So let them nag you, because you're going to nag them right back.
Who all would see those pictures?
The question is, who all would see the pictures if, say, your child was sextorted?
Okay, so coming in and making a report and sitting down for an interview, of course, I record the interviews, all that I do, and I'll usually, whenever it involves a juvenile or a minor, I don't video record it, so I just turn my body camera upside down, so I just have everything audio. That way I can go back and refer to it as like a live notes taking. So the only people that, outside of whoever received the messages or received it, honestly, usually the only people that, like on my last case that I worked, I was the only person that saw the images. I've had to go to very specific training with the state and the ICAC task force, because when I get these cyber tips, I have to review the images and say, yes, that is child sexual abuse material. I have to be able to make that determination of, yes, this is real. No, this looks like it's AI and everything. That way I can proceed with the case. So usually what'll happen is if I can get consent to go through the phone, go through the messages and see exactly what was sent and to who, then once I do that, I file the police report, and that police report gets assigned a case number, and it gets logged into our system where every case that we've ever done is. And from there, what I do is the primary case officer is I lock that report, so no other officers in the department are able to access that report without the specific PIN to unlock it. Once I've reviewed, and I mean, I don't want to see any of this stuff either. Like, unfortunately, like, I'm the only guy, since Sergeant Ricketts is on night shift supervising a shift now. Unfortunately, I'm the only person at the department that has to do the reviews and be exposed to this type of stuff. So once I look at it, make that determination, it gets locked away, and it's really hopefully never seen again unless the, suspect has it, which hopefully this Take It Down Act will be able to get it removed. I can only say maybe with the Take It Down Act is if maybe you don't respond so quickly if you're wanting to do something on the prosecutor side of it, where if you're wanting to make a report and you've already submitted the request to have it taken down and everything, I'm hoping that there would be a back channel for law enforcement to get a hold of the original content, so we can basically have to testify to that in court as to what the original content is. But hopefully once they get it all smoothed out, hopefully there's not going to be very much exposure.
I think it's just, I'm glad you shared that, because I think it's helpful to parents to know that if you're in this really awful situation that's embarrassing for your child, it's embarrassing for you, and you're scared too. I mean, you're very fearful of what's going to happen. To know that this is not like going up in it's not being shared with the whole police force or anything like that. It's being held so confidential and private, because no one wants to re-victimize the child. You're trying to help them. So I think that hopefully would give parents kind of a sense of confidence if this is something they need to do. Another question. So y'all talked a lot about kids and helping other kids. So that's a big part of what you guys talk about when you go to the high school. What can parents do to help educate their children so that, because they can be really good advocates for other kids who do need someone who can say, that's wrong. Someone shouldn't be asking you for that. You need to get help. I can help you. My parents or my teacher or whoever can help you. How do we go about, like, as parents, and, empowering our children that way?
The question is, how do we as parents empower our children to be good advocates to other children who may need help? Well, to start, you're raising your kids, raise them to be good people, and look out for certain signs. Like, once you have the talk with them, and you let them know, like, I'm here to support and I'm here for you, like, that's something they see and they know, like, okay, this is how I be a good friend. So the first step is really just being a good friend. So, like, when you have something, like when I have something that happens to me, like, I'm not at this age, I'm not running to my parents like, hey, mom, dad, this happened to me. Like, I'm running to my best friend, because I know she's a good friend and I know she's going to listen to me and help me through whatever. So you just want to, like, build that relationship, but also get to know your children's friends. That's a really big thing, is you want them to be comfortable in your house with you, with your children, and just have that communication with them as well, so they know if they don't have a safe home environment or if they don't have good parents, that they can come to you and that you will help them. Also get to know your children's friends' parents, so then you may know if they're good parents or not. or if you know that you can trust your kid at their house as well. So it's just all an endless cycle of getting to know people and making time to do it. Like I said, we're all busy, but if you make the time to do it, it'll go a long way in your children's future and safety.
And I think really the sooner that you can get ahead of this subject is honestly the better. And I can just speak from personal experience. I mean, we do practice what we preach up here, because I had to have this same conversation with my son, who's 12 years old. And this was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. So fairly recent and still fairly traumatizing and disturbing to me. What he is learning on the public school bus, is probably the same stuff that I was learning too, which is very probably explicit content with not good information. So when I became aware of this new information that he had, I had to just I had to rip that Band-Aid off and just say, all right, sit down. I'm just going to shoot you straight with it. This is what this is. And we talked about it. And I was like, look, dude, if there's anything that you need to ask me about, then just come to me and ask me about it. 'Cause I'm going to tell you the absolute truth. I'm not going to candy coat it. This is how, things work. And this is how, this is just the way that the world is now. And there's they're just subjected to too much, too fast, too young. So I'm very weary about, what my son is exposed to online, especially given what I've been doing for the past 4 years online. And I just want to make sure that I got ahead of it. I talked to him even about sextortion stuff, because he talked to me about getting bullied online. And I was like, well, I mean, there's a lot of bullying going online, but there's also this. And I brought it to him and I was like, we had our conversation earlier. This is related to that. And this is what happens. And this is what's out there. So if you hear about anything like that, you just need to let me know as soon as possible and we'll figure it out. Nothing, it's going to seem like the end of the world, but it's not the end of the world. We can work it out and we can figure it out, and we'll get it handled. So it's honestly just being a proactive parent and just realizing that 12, that's why we really want to get into the middle school and have these conversations, because my son just started middle school. So he's at the very forefront, and he, has been exposed to a bunch of material that he definitely shouldn't have. But, that's just where we're at right now.
A lot of these predators, that's their job. He mentioned a lot about people in Nigeria and Africa, talking to our kids, and, they're just making fake accounts. That they literally go to work and do that all day, every day. It may not just always be a kid, but it's someone, and it happens to everyone. And so it's so important to stress, it's not just happening to your child. There are grown men and grown women who we see all the time that are also being sextorted for pictures that they've sent. And now they have oh, I know where you work, your mom, your dad, everybody. They don't give them an outlet either, even as adults. And that's scary. So imagine how your kid feels. They are so well versed. The predators are so well versed in what they're saying and what they're doing. And then it makes it extremely dangerous. And they know exactly how to pressure your child into thinking that they have no one to go to, whether it be the school, the parent, their friends, whoever. So making sure your kids know that no matter what, they can come to you, regardless of who's telling them what, is very important.
I know it's a little scary. Thank y'all for being here tonight.
Yeah,
I know
of course.
it is a scary topic. I appreciate y'all sharing it. It's a little overwhelming,
Mhm.
but it's necessary.